Welcome into another episode of the Blues Brothers. This week we're talking Broncos playoff push. Can they beat the Browns? Thank God we beat those decrepit Raiders. And what is wrong with the Nuggets? How come the vibes just aren't quite vibing? Dr. Ryan and I get into it and help bring the patient that is Jamal Murray back to life. All that and more. Dan, you son of a bitch. Play the goddamn music. Welcome into another episode of the Blues Brothers. Happy Thanksgiving week to everyone except for that two-faced snake, Dan the man, the producer. That man once again slighted me this week despite winning the picks. What does he say? Chipping away. What's a wood chip, Ryan? Small. What is Dan trying to say? Small man out here. You just hate to see it. His vicious attacks continue. I won't hear any of your malarkey either. All right, I won't hear any of it.
It is a chip in
Dan the man. I am.
I'll defend Dan to the death. You know this already. This is a terrible way for you to start the podcast.
I hope that you're going to defend him to the death because I'm coming over to his house, and this is going to be the last podcast for Dan. I'll tell you that. All right, this is an outrage.
You'll have to come through me to get to Dan, and we both know that's not happening.
I will go through, over, and around you. Much as the New York Knicks did to the New York Nuggets, to the Denver Nuggets last night.
This is a terrible start. What's happening?
What do you mean?
Right now? Can we start over?
No, there's no starting over.
And then you insult the Nuggets.
You know what?
Got some negative energy happening right now.
I'm a truth teller. We're
going to turn this around. I believe.
I'm a truth teller.
We did get boat race by the way.
Oh, baby. All right. Where do you want to start, Ryan? Do you want to start with the good, with the Broncos, or the bad? Pretty much every other Colorado sport this weekend. As I sat with the in-laws and watched the Nuggets, it's weird to say they pissed away the game against the Mavericks, but they did piss it away. But it was because But it's weird when they were down 20. Then I watched Coach Prime and the boys get boat raced by KU. And I was like, you know what? If the Broncos blow this game to the Raiders and the Lakers.
Mom would have been happy that the Buffs, and you're like, what are we talking about?
I don't know, dude. It was arguably worse. It was arguably worse. Just, yeah, it was a lot of sports-related questions, which are innocent and not bad, but when your team is losing, when their follow-up what
was the worst one?
How has Coach Prime been this year? Yeah, he's been pretty good before today. Yeah, for this moment.
The first couple of weeks were.
Man, Travis is pretty good, huh? Yeah, I really wish anyone else could be good right now. Yeah, it's a good point.
That number 12 seems to be everywhere. Does he play both sides of the ball?
Wow, I can't believe Jamal banked that in. Couldn't do that again if he tried. Yeah, I sure hope not. So thank you to the Broncos for taking care of business and for the Nuggets for reminding the Lakers who their daddy is before then probably having a tough game last night. But all right, so let's get into the Nuggets first. I feel like they are kind of in an interesting spot as far as back-to-back. They came back from 20 down, should have won the game. Some weird bad execution down the stretch, not normally a hallmark of this team, but lost to a Doncic-less Mavs team in the NBA Cup. It's not so much the NBA Cup, like who cares, really, but it's just like you lost some.
Who cares? It's an actively rooting against them to have to play extra games, go to Vegas, and then maybe have to play literally an extra game that the NBA has. I mean, we've gotten jobbed on the schedule, which we'll talk about, but I hope we get coming last in our group.
Yeah, no. It's more just that because of the Jokic being away from the team, which, by the way, congrats to him. Beautiful baby boy, sounds like. But they just lost some winnable games, like the Memphis, the Pelicans. I mean, I'm not saying you sweep all of those games, but I think you go 2 of 3 there. So you're trying to make up a win, basically. And if they could have gotten Mavericks and Lakers, you're feeling pretty A-okay. I don't care if I would not have cared a bit that the Knicks came in and did what they did. But just kind of a weird up and down performance from this Nuggets team. Where are you at right now? It's early in the season. It feels like we keep forgetting that we don't have Aaron Gordon, who was probably not our third best player, but definitely our third most important player. I just kind of forget that Peyton Watson isn't supposed to start. And that's both a compliment to him and just a compliment to Jokic that you're kind of just like, yeah, there's someone dunking on the baseline. It seems like it's going good. But I mean, so they are missing a pretty big piece out there, but still it's felt inconsistent, I would say at best. So what are kind of your takeaways from this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's not super. Well, I think it depends on what your expectations were going into the year. Like, there are people that really believe that this Nuggets team was God's gift to Green and have the potential to just waltz through the Western Conference and, Jokic at his best plus a Russ. Like, not a lot of people thought that, but there were definitely some local people that thought that. Then we have the people who are like, oh, KCP and Bruce Brown and Jeff Green, like, who could ever even field a basketball team while losing those vital pieces? That's not true either. It's somewhere in the middle, right? Like, this team is figuring itself out. Jamal Murray has been a shell of himself. I think you're actually happy. I'm happy. The perks of this are Jokic is on a completely different planet than he's ever been. This is I put the only future I've ever placed on the Denver Nuggets, Jokic to win the MVP 750, because the odds were stupid. Like, he's having his best season, and I think it's now not a conversation of whether he's the best player in the NBA. It's a conversation of where he sits in the pantheon of NBA players. Like, that, those are the type of conversations we need to be having now. And we've always on this podcast been early to those conversations. And I'm ready to just shift that now. Like, this is no longer a debate about. I honestly don't give a shit if he ever wins another MVP. He will go down as one of. And he could retire tomorrow, and that's true. Terrell Davis, who's on a poster behind me, had a very short career, but he's definitely, like, for his peak, he is one of the greatest running backs of all time. I think anybody who's watched the NFL for long enough would agree with that. So if we set that aside, right, if we set the previous expectations aside, I think you're encouraged by Brown's development. I'm encouraged by Watson's development. I think he's been playing much better. You are shocked by the fact that Saric basically can't buy a minute. And I'm pleasantly surprised by how Russ has fit into the team. So I don't think that it's something where I'm pressing the panic button. But I'm certainly not worried. I want to win another championship. Jokic is clearly the best player in the NBA. You need a transcendent talent like that to win an NBA championship. And the more years that we put together a team around him that looks like this, the less likely that is. And I'm not even saying that I don't think that this team could coalesce into something that could win a championship. I was playing around on the trade machine a lot before we hopped on the podcast, and I honestly don't like. It's hard to find upgrades, right? Like everybody wants to be looking around the league and coveting this and coveting that. Like it's great in theory, but when you actually put it into practice, it's hard to improve on this roster. Like we're pretty good everywhere, which makes guys kind of impossible to get good value for, and also impossible to truly know what to do because they haven't fully reached their potential. You could trade a Julian Strother, but like I don't really want to. If we could avoid it, the guy shoots the cover off the ball if not. So I don't know. It's been frustrating to watch because they aren't the fun basketball team that should be affiliated with Jokic. They don't look like that right now. The ball isn't popping in the same way. When it's really going, they do look like that, which you get those little hits where like keeps you coming back for more. To your point, it hasn't been consistent, and it doesn't look like it's going to get consistent. And part of that's injury, but that's how it feels through the first.
Yeah, I think they would need to win their next 5 to keep on our 70% win percentage that we were at 7-3 out here, which is probably not going to happen. But for me, I talked about it on Threads. The encouraging part has been the post-entry passes to Jokic. I think Jokic has gotten easier points than he's ever gotten. I think Russ was the first one to really just like, hey, I'm throwing it early. Like, I'm just going to throw it. And it feels like Christian has picked up on that. Even Jamal, like there's been some stuff where it used to be really good to front Jokic. And it just was annoying to watch as a fan because you were like, hey, like, I get this guy's way more athletic, but also Jokic is insanely strong. Just please make a good pass and he'll catch it. And in one fell swoop, like lay it up. This man almost tapped it in from 70 feet in LA. Like, I think he can do it from a foot away.
I believe that shot happened. We have to pause a little bit because it's not only that it almost went in, it's that he tried it because it counts as a fucking field goal attempt. The guy's 3-point percentage went down because he attempted a 77-foot tip shot that almost went in, and he does not care. I guarantee you, he did it because his field goal percentage or his 3-point percentage would go down.
He did it because he was like, well, we have 0.3. The only way to try to make it count is to tap it.
Made 3 points. I figured, why not try to make a 3-point side? Like,
yeah. So
I love the man. He's impossible not to root for.
Yeah. So I think some of that has gone under the radar in talking and listening to people talk about like Jokic's greatness is that the Nuggets have gotten a little bit smarter about how to get him points. There's been less where it's like 3 dribbles back down, like fake. He still has those in the bag when he needs them. And he can absolutely fake the shit out of people in the post still. Don't get me wrong, but there's been a lot less need for that, which I think is good, especially considering the minutes load. It helps to offset that. I think that, like you said, I think Brown and Watson have been awesome. And I think that Watson getting all of these minutes is going to pay huge dividends for us. I think we've seen Watson take on huge defensive assignments that are going to pay huge dividends in the playoffs. I also don't think getting AG. I don't think getting AG minutes is bad.
Year,
yep.
Brown got those minutes.
Yep.
That is what this feels like to watch.
Yep. I think that Malone can fall in love with Russ a little bit too much. I think Russ shouldn't have been in crunch time in that Dallas game. And so
I was losing my
mind. Obviously he played unbelievable. And I'm not saying he was the reason we lost the game. Like, they'll get it wrong. But like, there's just no reason not to have Christian has earned the right to be like, hey, dude, I don't give a shit how good you play. Christian's coming back in. Like, he's been awesome defensively. He's been super smart, and
there were
he's been
times where
shooting
you
and
could have
making open threes.
gone offense for defense there. Like, it's not that you have to just stick with one guy. That's
Right, but I
there's
just think
always
I just think Christian is better in both areas when Jokic is on the floor. And with Murray, you don't need the creation on offense. We're not going to put the ball in your hands, so you're getting spot up rust, which we ranted about in the beginning of the season. That's the worst version of rust. We just don't need it. For spot up offense, Christian is better. And that's just what it is.
And I think to the off the court piece of Russ, I think it's invaluable. Like, the stuff that he is doing on the sideline, he's like a DJ that plays.
Yep.
So I think nobody has ever been a person who hated Russ interpersonally. Like,
Right.
none of his teammates, even when it ends poorly, none of them are ever like, oh, well, that guy. No, they're all like, oh, he was awesome.
I think
him.
it's
So he's been great as a whole.
We said it on the podcast. He's going to play as hard as he possibly can. And sometimes it's not good enough and sometimes it is, but he's giving you everything he has, and that's awesome, dude. Like, to your point about the NBA, it's the Celtics and everybody else. Like, if you told me, hey, the Nuggets went to the NBA Finals right now, I'd go, okay. And if you told me the Nuggets got punked out by the Houston Rockets in the first round, I'd go, well, okay. Right? Like, in the West, there's a bunch of killers, but there's no one that's like Javier Bardem from No Country for Old Men, where you're just like, oh, Jesus, not the air gun guy. Like, holy shit, he's getting the suitcase. Don't flip the coin. Don't flip the coin.
It's
like, yeah, there's no one who I'm like, we're that gas station attendant. If we get them, they're putting it right in the – until you get to the Celtics. The Celtics, when healthy, are unbelievable. And it feels – people aren't talking about the Celtics team in the same way because for some reason NBA fans are stupid and can never can never catch on a narrative when it's actually happening. They're like, how could we have seen this without evidence of it? I can only report on things that have already happened. But like, this Celtics team is just as unfair as the Warriors team was. Like, they're unreal good. Like, the Wolves played their asses off, and didn't even take them to overtime. The Cavs played their asses off and didn't even take them to overtime. Like, when this team wants to win, they win. And that's all it is.
Especially with Porzingis. And it's
so
on a completely different level. I looked at the standings, to your point. I like took 3 seconds and looked at the West and was like, what am I doing? I'm waiting. This is stupid. I'll check.
But I mean, it's just
weeks.
like we've had two.
There are a lot of good teams. There are 12 good teams, and I'm not sure which of those 12 is really good.
We've played 2 really fun games with Dallas. I wouldn't pick us, or I wouldn't pick against us in a Dallas series. I wouldn't pick against us in Memphis. I think low-key the Warriors do not want to see us at all. I think
the Lakers don't want this heat.
The Suns, the Lakers, you go down the line, you're like, yeah, we could lose to any of these teams. Absolutely. But to your point, the hand-wringing on a night-to-night basis, when we said this in our season preview, we said this team is going to score a lot of points. And we said, and they are absolutely going to give up a lot of points some nights. And you saw they just weren't connected. Also, the Knicks are the ultimate try-hard nerds in the regular season with Thibodeau in terms of they're just not going to play a bench. So our bench sucks against backups. And then when they're like, actually, we're just going to play Jalen Brunson the whole game, you're like, oh, that's going to be bad. We're going to really bleed these minutes. But you could tell they just didn't have the intensity. I think they had a very good time in LA. They said that they stayed over afterwards.
What did you think of Jamal's comments?
I mean, I don't think he's wrong. I just think
So here's my thing with Jamal. Let
I
me
think
pull it
Jamal's
up.
been bad defensively. Is what that
Oh, he's not
Dallas
bad
game.
defensively.
I think Jamal, that's the part that people are overlooking. People want Jamal to have 30 points a game and all that. And listen, he was never that when he was before the knee injury, before this whatever happened last year, right? He was never consistent. He's
But
always been kind of explosive and then just a smart run the team playmaker.
let me give you
But
some
the
stats.
defensive stuff is bad, Ryan. It is bad right
Well,
now.
he's just been giving up layups, but honestly, the whole team has been. Like, it's not just a him problem. The people, everybody's just been living at the rim. But
It's not a not
offensively,
him problem.
no, it's definitely part of him, and it's athleticism. But I do think that the offensive stuff has been bad, and
Oh, for sure. I'm not
I
saying it.
kind of looked. I wanted to look at it and just see what was worse. Like, okay, what is he actually doing worse? And I thought I was going to find that he was actually just being less aggressive, like he wasn't taking as many shots. That's not true. He is taking about a shot less a game. He is having his worst percentage from the field of his entire career. He's shooting 40% from the field. I was like, oh, maybe he's shooting less threes because he's definitely not making any. Nope. He's shooting almost a half a three more than he did last year. He's just shooting his second worst percentage of his career. I thought, oh, well, the rebounds and maybe the assists, maybe he's just like dishing off. Nope. Hasn't been crashing the boards, averaging. It is his best defensive rebounding metric. But total rebounds, it's well within, like he's averaging 4. He's been averaging 4.
Yeah.
Assists, 6 a game, been within his career average the last couple of years. Like, he is just inefficient and hasn't been performing at the same level. So it's hard to, and to your point, being a sieve on defense. So it's hard to really find the bright spots when your second best player is objectively having one of the worst years of his career statistically. So,
yep. It's obviously he was banged up in the playoffs last year, but I think the book is out that like Murray doesn't like ball pressure and he doesn't like you up in his stuff. Now there are some times where like you'll make him mad and he'll go at someone and make a ridiculous shot. And if it goes in, he is going to score 8 points that quarter. Like he still has that level to his game. But to me, the more yes, it's concerning to me, the shooting. But I do think more than that, it's like the decision making. Because it's almost like he's trying to prove, because we've taken some dumb shots where it's like your initial 2 actions didn't work. And yes, there are 8 seconds on the shot clock. But it used to be 8 seconds with Jokic and Murray felt like forever. And teams would be like, I swear to God, they got 3 looks that we defended the first 2 great in this 8 seconds and then just got a layup. And now it feels like a lot of one-on-one. And Porter's been guilty of it sometimes too. But I don't know what that is. But to your point, if there's a guy who's over there who's just shooting the shit out of the ball, let's just give him the ball again. High post, whatever. And let him go to work. It feels like obviously that's not something Jokic is going to say or something Jokic is going to be mad about. Jokic, like, he's going to say, hey, it's the end of the shot clock. We get what we get. Like, it's fine. So he's been jumping on some grenades there. But the part that has been weird to me is the strength of Murray always used to be, we always used to laugh when teams would get Murray in a switch in against bigger players. Because we'd be like, this is actually awesome. Like, he's strong as shit down there. And the problem was like really quick guards, right? Like he's always had a little trouble with the Currys, with the Kyries, just foot speed wise. But now, to your point, people are going to his chest and he's just going backwards. Like he can't keep people from getting in there. And does that become less of a problem when we get a more physical presence with AG? Maybe, right? Like that's obviously, while Watson is an unbelievable shot blocker, he's not the same physical presence that AG is in the paint, right? By any stretch of the imagination. So maybe it's a little bit of that effect. But to me, like, it's not even that like there's good players that are roasting him. Like he is getting lit up by role players. And the thing that kills me,
such a good point, because he
is
used to get up for those big guys and they wouldn't give him anything, and then it would sort of like he'd be so tired by the time that the second string came in that he'd give him 2 easy buckets and then take him out. Like it was whatever. But he's not getting up for the big guys, and he's just getting destroyed.
Yep.
Guys that I don't even know that. It's a layup line out there. Honestly, like during the Mavs game, it wasn't just a Jamal thing, right?
But down the stretch, it sure as shit was.
But in the second quarter, I looked at Sophie's brother and was like, they're just getting whatever they want at the rim. Like, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. So it's been very frustrating to watch. I will say that I'm not well, I guess I am saying, but I think there is something to Jamal as a person who's been hurt in their career and has had relatively big injuries that take you out of that for a long time. Every time you have something like that, it becomes harder and harder to get back. And I think that is... He looks like a guy who lost a little bit of motivation. And I'm not saying that he's not motivated. I'm not saying that he can't get back to that. I'm saying right now on November 26th, it does not look like Jamal Murray gives a shit whether the Nuggets win or lose a basketball game that night. From Section 372, that's what it looks like. He's trying hard. I'm not saying that he's not trying. I'm just saying he is not playing the type of basketball that tells me he wants to win. Because when Jamal Murray is pissed off, or when he gets pissed off, it's not this like whatever talking in the media bullshit. Like he's gonna go shoot 14 threes and like he might make 3 of them, but he hasn't even had one of those games. It's not like he hasn't been aggressive at all. The Murray flurry has been non-existent. So that's what I want to see from him. I want to see a little bit of that fire when we need it. And I'm not sure when we're going to see it.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously, you talk about the team coalescing. I think the thing that stands out to me, and I don't know how it hasn't taken on with Murray, and even with Porter to an extent, although he's been a little bit better. But the quote that stands out to me is Gordon after we lost to the Warriors. He said, I have to be smarter. He's like, Jokic is such a smart basketball player that to maximize what Jokic is, you have to be smart. And I have to be as mentally engaged as he is. And Murray during the finals run was as mentally engaged as Jokic was. And so he was getting us a good shot every time. Now, he knew where to get that to. Okay, we're running this play. This is what I want from this. This is where I want Jokic to get it. Or this is where I'm going to get this coverage look. That's going to let me get here, and I'm going to get that. And he was just playing with a supreme confidence that comes from knowing what was coming. And I think that's what's missing right now is he's trying to prove that physically he is there right now instead of just being mentally calm and saying, listen, I've been here before at the highest levels of coaches dissecting your game and trying to find every single way to try and stop you. And I cooked those motherfuckers. And that's where your confidence should come from. Is I've seen every coverage you can throw at me, and I know what we're going to try to get here. And I am going to just be in that now, and that's where I'm going to be, right? In the floor general sense of things, instead of the I need to get to my one-legged step back. We just don't need you taking one-legged step backs. That's bad offense for us. They'll go in sometimes, and if we're desperation, take it. Come on, man. But just use your brain.
He's taking way more the hard option all the time, as opposed to taking the easy way, and it's frustrating to watch. And that's it's a really, what you said is an unbelievable way to distill that down into like, you're just making things harder on yourself. And when you're playing with Jokic, your number one job should try to be to make things easy, because Jokic is an easy button, and that is a very fun way to play basketball. Like, I love playing with you because you're fucking 6'7", and people look at you and they're like, well, that big dumb guy is probably going to go in the post. And I'm like, oh boy, you guys are going to be very, very surprised and very, very sad. And that's very fun to play with somebody who, what they're expecting from you is the exact opposite of what you're giving them. And you have the ultimate, literally the best player in the world is like, if my brother was 7'2" and way better than you are. But like, I do feel like I got to experience a little bit of it because nobody expects you to be able to dribble the ball. I'm like, well, he didn't really grow until he was late, so they played a lot of point guard growing. Like, it's little stuff like that people don't understand. And watching him in person is truly like, I mean, I didn't go to the Knicks game, thank God. I sold that ticket. But I was at the Mavs game, and we were with Sophie's brother. It's his first Nuggets game. I tried to make him get one of those certificates that they give to kids. He wouldn't do it. He's full. I mean, he's 30s. So. But I didn't care. Like, I loved watching. I just have gotten to a point where I'm so happy that we won the title, and I'm so happy that I get to watch Nikola Jokic play basketball on a regular basis that I just don't give a shit anymore. Like, it's frustrating to watch him be surrounded by this incompetence, but it's also, it makes what he's doing pop even more. So, I don't know. It's a win-win for Nuggets fans. Like, just enjoy this, no matter what. Even when the frustrating moments happen, just enjoy greatness. Because he, like I said at the top of this, which I think we should probably finish on, it's no longer is he the best player right now. It's where does he fit into the best players of all time. That's what we're talking about.
Always going to be a stupid conversation to have while someone's still 100%. Playing. Don't get engaged with it online. Please, God, he's even in the top 10. Don't do it. Don't fall into the thing. Just have fun. The fact that he's having an awesome season.
No, I'm not saying he's even like towards the top of that list, but you just have to start figuring out where you put him on that list, which is a different conversation than what we were having a year ago.
Please, God, don't get pulled into it. We should just be taking our victory lap about Joel Embiid. Don't get pulled into another thing to where we're into it with Houston Rockets fans talking about Akeem Olajuwon. Listen, I promise.
I feel the same way about Joel Embiid fans as I feel about the Lakers fans. I feel sorry for you, and that should say something. As a Nuggets fan, I don't feel any type of way. I feel sorry for you. I don't know what to tell you. We have the best player in the world. You tanked for years to try to get the number one pick, and you picked Joel Embiid. You picked him. And I don't know what to tell you. And then as a Lakers fan, like, I mean, come on. I was getting into arguments on BlueSky, and all you Lakers fans can give the podcast a follow, and I will gladly talk shit to you about the Minnesota titles that you no longer should claim. Slide the DMs.
Yeah. All right, that's enough Nuggets. When we do the next podcast, Ryan, so we've got the Jazz tomorrow. Man, do the Jazz have to be so sad that the Knicks did this? They're like, God, we suck anyway. Can you fucking leave us alone?
That he was going to the game. He lives in St. George, Utah, but he's going to visit family in Salt Lake. And I said, I hope you have a really good time watching Nikola Jokic because you guys are about to get curb stomped. If this team has any championship medal at all, this game should be a 20-point blowout.
Yeah. And then you've got the Clippers, potential revenge spot. That you have days off. You don't have to play till Sunday. And then Tuesday you have the Warriors in an NBA Cup game. When we next podcast you, what do you think the Nuggets are?
In those games? It was Jazz as a win. Mm-hmm. Clippers on the road.
In the Intuit Dome.
That's a win. Then what was the third game? Warriors
at home.
That's probably a loss. We've been sneaky bad on the road or at home. We're 5-4 at home. Normally we have 4 losses in a season at home, so it has felt a little bit lonely.
I'm going out on a limb. I think we're 3-0. I think we put it on the Jazz. I think the Clippers. I think they're going to come back down to earth a little bit. I also think the Kyrie Irving and having Peyton Watson back is actually super helpful for James Harden.
The Clippers game we're going to win. We own them.
And then, except for when we lost to them at home after giving up an 8-point lead in the fourth quarter earlier this year. But that's
stupid shit all the time. That's just Nuggets going to nugget.
And then I think we're a terrible matchup for the Warriors. We'll see. But I kind of think that...
You haven't played them, right?
No. I kind of think that it's like going to be one of those games where Curry goes the F off and we just kind of, Jokic just kind of scores 100 points and assists on 100 points.
That's the crazy part about some of these Western Conference teams. You literally don't have a guy over 6'8".
No.
You have wings. You have as they would say in LA, you have hella wings, but it just makes. But they don't have anybody over 7 foot. You do have to have a big body for Nikola Jokic, and you can't just double him because he's the best fucking passer of all time. And I'm talking of all time. Period. No question mark. Come at me.
Yeah.
I'll pass on this body like John Stockton.
Yeah. But I think we're 3-0. And I think then there's a lot of calming down in this process. But I'll be interested to see what we got. All right, let's go to a team that had a little bit more of a positive thing. In the end, there were some moments where it was dark. But the Broncos, 29-19, they swept the Raiders for the first time in quite some time. A big win for them. As far as Colts lost, they control their own destiny for all intents and purposes. And we've got one more upcoming before the God-forsaken bye week. But at least get a little extra rest here. This Raiders game, I thought it was really interesting the narrative coming out of this, because Jaden Daniels and them lost because their kicker can't make an extra point, and apparently their special teams has never played Madden and didn't know you just press spin move after you make a mistake on special teams. You're like, that's the wrong direction. Spin move. I forgot I ran the HB dive, not the HB stretch. Spin move back into the hole. But I was surprised at how, I guess, just effusive the praise is for Bo Nix after this game. I thought Bo Nix played just fine, but let's not pretend like this is a world beater Raiders defense. This secondary sucks.
It's like everything else.
And it was pretty short there in the second half, or in the first half. Like, it was not good. So
they're just
I guess
week
I'm
late, dude.
It feels like a little bit of the
week late. They're never gonna be on time. You know this by now. We should know that they're just a week behind us.
I just didn't know if you had a different perspective on the Bo Nix game. If you thought that, like, I agree he made some good throws, but I think every week he's had some really good throws. We've highlighted him in losses. I mean, I still don't think anything beats that touch pass he threw over in the red zone before. I don't think he'd thrown a touchdown yet. And we were finding those touch passes that he was throwing that I think that's the best throw he's made all season.
Best performance of the year, and I don't think it's particularly close. I mean, it's the Raiders.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? They're bad. Like, this team is bad, and I think we almost blew it. And so I don't think anybody should be piling on the praise for any part of the Broncos organization for this win, other than the fact that you won an NFL game. That's deserving of some praise.
On the road,
that you,
to some degree.
You won a game. That's really... I didn't think that they would win this many games in the entire season. So, of course, I'm happy that they won.
Yep.
They're officially over. They're over.
Yeah.
Last week.
Oh, yeah. Last week they got over, but this week they're... Yeah. So, I guess offensively, it feels to me like they're starting to get a little bit more of the deeper progressions across the middle. We still haven't connected in any consistent way. And I understand with the way defenses are playing, it's one of the harder throws to make, and it's not often open, right? But I do think at this point in the season, teams are saying, hey, let's see Bo Nix go deep, right? Like, and we still don't have necessarily the up the sideline burner kind of play. And it's not that we have those kind of wide receivers necessarily, but it does feel like where earlier it was all quick slants across, or it was quick, kind of outs, whatever. It does feel like now we're almost using Nix's legs and a fact that teams are going to leave a spy out there to get something in back behind. And we got Vele in behind a few times and a little bit more of a chunk play. Because the problem with this team, to me, of which there are many, because, I mean, you don't get picked to win 5.5 games and be a flawless roster. But just the third downs per game. We're 10th. We are right there with the Chargers and Kansas City, who are obviously two playoff teams. Philly is in there at 6, but the other teams are like Cleveland, the Giants, Chicago, Pittsburgh, like not good offenses here. And so it does make me happy that we're picking up a little bit more chunk plays so that we're not constantly being forced to execute well on the majority of our plays to grind out first downs. That's the only kind of progression, I guess, the next step that I saw from Bo Nix this game. But other than that, I thought it was a totally fine game. Like you said, anytime you go on the road as a rookie and you don't poop your pants, I'm impressed, right? To some degree. But it was just interesting to me that this week, everyone's like, offense rookie of the year, Bo Nix is a wrap. And I'm like, is it? But yeah, I guess
think
I
he may
thought this
well
was like
win.
a
I think he
C
may
minus
well.
offensive performance. Where would you put it? I thought it
Yeah.
was kind of C minus.
No, I think that's about right. And I think to your point, it's the natural progression of Sean Payton opening up the playbook to a rookie who's now into his 13th, 14th week in the NFL. Like, I don't think it's crazy to assume that Sean Payton is going to trust him more with the type of plays and down the field options and just trusting him to get to that second read or third read even. Like, I think somebody on a podcast that I was listening to gave a lot of credit to the quarterback coach, and I do think they deserve a lot of credit because when he hits that back foot, he's looking at his first option, which if you're watching a rookie quarterback in the NFL, typically they're looking at whoever the fuck is running as fast as they can on the defense at them. And it's a natural thing to do, to be like, oh my God, what is that 325-pound guy doing running at me? Like, that's very natural. And Bo Nix, in the last, say, 4 weeks, has been hitting that back foot and been looking directly at or towards or looking off the right way. Like, everything in his structure has been very much Tua-esque a little bit in terms of like quick decisions. Like, I don't need to be perfect. I don't need to have an unbelievable arm. I don't need to be any of these things. I need to just get the ball out quickly to the option that's going to be open. I know it's going to be open because I can read the cover. And he can do that, which is a superpower for a rookie. Like, it's very, very powerful. And I think every week it shows that Sean Payton is trusting him more and more, which is a positive. Like, that has to give us as Broncos fans huge optimism for the future of Bo Nix and how he can potentially continue to evolve in learning an offense and taking those second and third reads, and then having the connection with a receiver like Sutton that he's clearly developing, where it's like, oh, okay, you're just going to sit down on this third down route as opposed to actually running the route. You're going to sit down in the zone and be there for the first down. Like, how many times did he hit Cortland Sutton for a third down conversion? I think he's showing all of the steps that you were hoping he was going to show. So it's kind of payoff time. Like, you do control your destiny, so go control it. Like, you can't drop this Browns game. You cannot lose at home to the Colts. Like, these are things that you cannot do if you're going to be offensive rookie of the year material, which I don't know if he should win the award, and honestly, as a Broncos fan, it doesn't matter. All of this is gravy. Like, all of this to me has showed that Bo Nix can be a good quarterback. Whether he turns out to be is a completely different question that honestly not a lot of control lies in even Sean Payton's hands at this point. It's really just talent around you, how lucky you get in the draft, just like all these different things are. But you have a pretty good rookie quarterback on a rookie contract, which is like 10x gold in the NFL. So you made up for you didn't make up, but you ate a lot of that up on the Russell Wilson scale of how much you fucked up. So now go do something good with it. And it's going to be a question of how well can they build a team, not whether Bo Nix is competent enough to quarterback in the NFL. I think we've seen enough now that seems to be true.
Yeah. I think you mentioned the Browns game, and I think it's a pretty good transition point here. Obviously, defense played good, but it was Gardner Minshew and no weapons. I thought they did a smart thing of having a little bit more attention paid to Bowers this time. Obviously, he got loose in the first game, and you could tell there was a little bit more. There was the one big hit that Surtain laid on him where they were bracketing him, where they had the Hobbit guarding him for pretend, and then Big Daddy Surtain was coming over the top. But some question marks from this game. Obviously, Zach Allen didn't play. Sean Payton said no concerns there. And then he said Riley Moss, he thought could have come back, and he was like, it's an MCL. There was discussion about whether or not he could even come back in the game. I predict he doesn't play versus the Browns just because your bye is coming up. And I mean, who are you putting him on? Right? Like, yeah, it's like, well, they have Judy and they have,
what was it, 3 weeks ago where I
and
was
Joku.
like, look at the TD scorers
list
here. Like, name me one guy who you knew was in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you've got Surtain for Judy, and then Njoku is the only other real option. And I don't know, even as good as Ross, probably Moss
Judy
has been,
revenge game, I'm going to be furious.
I think it's far more likely that Jared Judy drops the ball and everyone starts laughing, and he never recovers emotionally and tries to fight Steve Smith. I think that's a far more likely outcome than Jerry Judy cooking. Because if he does cook against the Hobbit, then they're just going to be like, okay, Pat's following you around now. I hope you had fun.
No, I
But so those were kind of the two injuries things. The other thing that I thought was a good place to start with this game is there were some moments in that Raiders game where you were like, is Max Crosby going to ruin this game for us? Like single-handedly? It feels like he's just kind of coming pretty close to just messing up everything we're doing right now. And you have Myles Garrett, who is a freak. Now, he is banged up. Like, he's playing through an injury. But you talk about him being unbelievable, and then they have Ward out there for Cortland Sutton, physical corner, all of that. Also, don't forget this Browns team was having a great season, and they made it to the playoffs last year, but they were having a great season, and then all of a sudden, Sean Payton, they were like the number one defense that was historic, and Sean Payton just ran a bunch of weird running plays, and we just kind of ran over them with Russell Wilson. So don't think that maybe there's a little bit of revenge factor for the defense for like, you got us last year. Okay, we're coming again. So I feel like the best place to start is, was your confidence shaken a little bit in this offensive line that has been having a great season, seeing what Crosby did to it with now Myles Garrett coming to town? And do you think that there's a little more emphasis on hey, we're doubling every time, we're doubling, we're tripling? Not that they weren't doing that. Like they emphasized it on the broadcast. Like we were trying everything, but Crosby, there were some times where we left him out there and he chased players down. He just broke stuff up that a normal defensive end couldn't do. But Myles Garrett isn't normal either.
I don't think I'm as concerned about it, only because Max Crosby is sort of that one of freak that is not only dangerous, like off your quarterback's in the pocket or as they're sneaking that backside. I mean, he chased down a fucking screen pass and was just...
That was like, unreal.
That is a one-of-one thing. Like, I don't think anybody in the NFL does that. Certainly not Myles Garrett. Like, Myles Garrett is very dangerous, but he's dangerous as you're going point of attack in the pocket, like in those first 4 or 5 seconds, and he can chase down somebody. But I don't think he's chasing down a running back anymore. I certainly don't think he's chasing down Bo Nix at this point. So I do think that while he's dangerous, and obviously he's going to be in the backfield and probably destroy Bo Nix at least a couple of times, I don't think he presents exactly the same type of problem for the Broncos offense that a Max Crosby did. But that doesn't mean I'm any less worried about it. I think this defense is very good and is what can keep them in games. And if you let Jameis hang around, he's very dangerous.
Yeah, this is a nervous game for me. You and I were talking about it before the pod. The Broncos are favored by 5.5 here. Same they were over the Raiders, which obviously they covered in the end. Like we said, it wasn't necessarily beauteous, but it was there. It's a primetime game, Monday night. Obviously, all the hype for Bo is going to be coming in to this game. And really, a rare primetime showing for him. The closest he's come was when we played Baltimore before this, and we had Romo, and we saw what happened there. We kind of got shellacked. This is obviously not as quality of an opponent. But I do think that in the end, I think this Broncos defense shows up in a huge way. And the thing that was encouraging to me was just the amount of pressure they got, even without Zach Allen. And obviously the Raiders were behind at the end and, having to throw. But Benito has been making himself money. That's all we'll say about that. But he's been awesome. They've just had a good pass rush, and I think Jameis under pressure equals let me throw a jump ball up there. I bet Judy will outfight Pat, and
the player
I bet he won't.
The player props aren't out. You can't get a turnover line, which is over 2.5. I don't feel great about yet, but take Jameis over half an interception.
Yeah.
And eat the juice. It doesn't matter. Like, he's throwing a pick to this time here. So it's not a matter of if, it's.
Yeah. All right. Let's get our picks out here for the Broncos. Then we can potentially they'll be in there. But I am going to take this Broncos team to win this. I think 17-10. I think this is an ugly game. I don't predict good things. I don't predict feeling great about anything except for the fact that we win. That's.
I am going to say Broncos 7-20.
All right. Both of us a little 7-pointer. They cover. I, by the way, would not put this in anything. There is when there's bad teams and they just win, like the Browns just played their Super Bowl versus the Steelers. There's a chance for a letdown there, but also Broncos team's a little banged up, like you said, almost a mini bye here for the Browns. Last one before the bye week for the Broncos. It's a be careful out there one. As everyone saw last week with the Cowboys playing no one and somehow beating the Commanders, the Texans blew a game. There were a lot of ones that the Chiefs did everything in their power to blow the game against the Panthers. Like this is the time of season where it's like, why would this team care? Why would they try? And it's like, well, because it's the NFL, man. Like there's not enough longevity for careers for guys to shut it down for a season, right? Like guys are going to try to get contracts. Guys are going to try to get stuff. Everyone's trying to put something good on tape.
People still care. They're professional athletes. They're not going to go out there and try to lose. They are not going to be as talented as them. They probably will lose, but they're not going to not try.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into our picks here, Ryan. I'm I'm chipping away, as some have said out there.
Slowly. Chipping might be too active of a verb.
You know what? I was only coming for Dan, but now it's both of you. All right. I can get us going here. I have this week was hard for me, but there is one game I absolutely love. I absolutely love the Bengals over the Steelers. Bengals minus 2.5. It's minus 120 right now.
Ooh, yeah, shop that line, brother. I got you a whole point on DraftKings. Minus 1.5, minus 112.
Yeah, I will take that. Minus 1.5, minus 112. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is a classic. The
I
Bengals
agree with
are
you, and I did look
insanely
at this,
desperate.
by the way.
This is I think this Steelers team, I talked about most third downs. Pittsburgh still has the most third downs of any team in the NFL. That includes the Giants in that, just for reference. I think they're kind of a hidden bad team, and I think that the Bengals' season is over basically if they lose this game, and so we're going to see Joe Burrow go.
At home.
Yep.
Hitting minus 1.5 at home with a better team. I couldn't agree with you.
Tomlin as an underdog is always scary, but I just
terrifying.
think.
But if you lose to him, it's also like, yeah, okay. But I don't think that the bet was wrong, just because the coach is unbelievable. Cat, you kind of have to just. I love that pick, and I did look at it. Who knows? Maybe I'll tell you. I'm gonna go. I tried to do all Thanksgiving Day games. See if I actually end up doing. Because there are some tasty lines throughout. But I do have a same game parlay for the Dolphins Packers game. This has the potential to be a little bit nasty in terms of it's in Green Bay. Potential for snow, blah blah blah. It's November. Hey, both of these running backs in this game have been unbelievable, and so we're just gonna assume that they're gonna have to hand the ball off, and we're gonna assume that they have moderately good games. We're gonna take Josh Jacobs over 60 yards rushing, and we're gonna parlay it with Devon Achane, 50 plus yards. And that gets you to a nice, tasty plus 174. I mean, 60 and 50 is not a big number for the. So, I'm anticipating bad weather, and I'm anticipating handing the ball off.
Okay, I like it. That I was curious where you're going because I cannot figure out what to make of that game. I feel like, I mean, you talk about the Packers team. Obviously, they're coming off of a big quote unquote win over the 49ers, but it's backup quarterback. The week before, we saw them do everything in their power to lose to the Bears, but they just refused. This team has not looked like what I thought they were going to look like. And Miami's kind of been turning it on a little bit lately with Tua, but it's cold weather. They also have been playing kind of crappy teams.
I'm kind of surprised that you're struggling with this because you've been loving the ugly picks up. The Dolphins are like very much the Dolphins money line are very much in my purview of playing this week because I think that they have been playing well, and I think that this has sort of a trap game written all over it for the Packers. I don't know.
Yeah. My next game that I like, I'm going to go to the AFC West. I am going Chargers minus 1.5 at the Falcons. I think if you get your ass beat by the Broncos, you're getting your ass beat by the Chargers. And I think this Falcons team, obviously, they're coming off a bye. It's a short week for the Chargers. The rest stuff does not speak to it. I just think the NFC South sucks. I just think they suck. Like every time I see them play versus the Broncos, and the Broncos are a pretty good barometer for like what does a 9-8 team look like? And when you're getting just shellacked by 9-8 team, it's not good. I think it's pretty bad. There's some obviously it's at Atlanta. That's another reason it's so low. West Coast team going east. It's an early game, all the things. But I just think that Herbert and the boys are a lot better than the Falcons and are going to be A-okay out there. So I just think there's a lot of like off the field stuff as far as like rest, travel, time. But like when you just look at talent and production, I think normally this would be a like Chargers minus like 5.5, 6.
You're definitely on the right side of history here. So I don't think got any notes there. I didn't know it was that low, to be honest with you.
Yes.
The Falcons,
and that's minus 115, by the way.
The Falcons, the Commanders, and a couple of those other teams are like kind of on fraud watch for me. It's like you started off well, but once we got tape on you, and I called this Commanders shit, by the way. Like, I said that they were going to be super fun, but not very good. And they were super fun and very good for the first, 11 weeks. And now they've been kind of bad for the last 5. And that's okay. They should take their money and run. I think you're definitely getting ahead of some of these middle of the line or middle of the season bumps where it's like, okay, we have real data on these. And the public hasn't quite caught up to how bad this team has been in the last couple weeks. I think you're doing a great job here. I'm trying to decide how crazy to go here. And I think I'm going to go a little crazy. So what I'm going to do is halftime, full time at Bears on Thanksgiving. This is the first morning game here. 10:30 a.m. 11:30 Central. Really kick for these guys. I'm going to take the Bears to be leading half. Lions to win the game. That is plus 650. I think Caleb Williams has been. I don't think. Caleb Williams balled the fuck out last week. He played unbelievable. He's going to be feeling himself. It's Thanksgiving. The Lions.
You talk about stupid narratives, by the way. All these people who are like, some people think that they should bench Caleb Williams in that locker room. I'm like, hey, whoever leaked that, they should let that guy go. They should be like, oh, dude, we don't need you on our team anymore. That's no problem, dude. Thank you for telling us.
To bench our first overall pick.
Thank you for telling us you're a moron.
Good. Nice.
No problem, dude.
Fill out your resume, dude. And don't ask me for a reference.
Yeah. Oh, you do not want a reference from me, buddy, because I'm just going to send them the video of that big, giant, I forget what it is, like a hammerhead beast or something hitting its head in the cliff. I'm going to go, he's dumber than this guy. All right. This guy, no brain. But Caleb, you're right. He made some absolutely filthy throws in that game.
I think this has the potential for the Lions to come out a little slow. The Bears, the game, the offense gets off to a slow start. There's maybe stupid turnover stuff. I just think it could be sloppy first half and the Bears to be winning Because I wanted to kind of take the Bears. I believe in the Bears a little bit. I wanted a little bit of Bears action, and I figured a halftime, full time is love the plus 650. So.
I'm not as bold as you. I looked super hard at this game though. Um, Detroit is 9-2 against the spread. Like they're unbelievable. And you feel like with a double digit, it has to come down at some point. But I was like, I don't know if I'm going to take this anybody against this buzzsaw right now. And so I like what you're doing with like, hey, maybe they come out a little sleepy and then they wake up because the way this Detroit offense works, you could be up 10 at halftime and absolutely lose by 20.
Absolutely,
And
100%.
have it be down by 20 like midway through the fourth quarter.
What I really wanted to do is do an underdog tease and tease the Bears up. But I'm like, I can't guarantee that they're not going to lose by 20.
No,
like that could be a backdoor cover in the wrong way if Caleb Williams throws a pick six. Like I don't need that. I just decided to have a little bit more fun with it than taking something and then feeling shitty about it. I'm going to take something plus 650 and feel moderately okay.
I like it. You talked about the Thanksgiving game, gobble gobble. You talked about the running, you talked about the weather. I'm going to take under 47.5 in that Dolphins and the Packers game. The under is minus 120. I just think we've seen two in cold weather. It's really bad. We've seen this Packers defense is pretty good, and this Packers offense is pretty bad. The only thing that concerns me is that Jordan Love has thrown some horrific picks. And he threw like 4 that the 49ers had 2 hands on and just dropped it because that's how the 49ers season has gone this year. But like he is making some tough decisions with the ball that have me concerned. But other than that, like I don't see tons of explosive plays coming here other than the only thing that also I worry about is just with snow, maybe a slip, and all of a sudden, H-A-N, he will be gone if you are in a foot race. I
very much agree with this take. And it actually coincides with that as well.
Perfect.
And I'm going to take a Thanksgiving special that's offered. Miami at Packers. I'm going to take that to be the scoring game. And my theory for this is that if you look at the totals, right, like the Giants at the Cowboys is expected to be the lowest scoring game.
Yeah.
And I think that that's fair. But I also think
I could not agree anymore.
That when you throw a lot of turnovers in the mix, like I think there will be with Tommy Cutlets and what's his nuts out there for the Cowboys?
Yeah. Cooper
Rush. I think that there are going to be some turnovers in that game. I think there's going to be some high variability plays. And I think that this weather actually has the potential to be terrible and this to be like, they could score 13 points in this game. And plus 300, I love those odds. I was going to stop you in the middle of your bet and be like, hey, I found something with better. And then I was like, wait, this is a contest. I can't be giving him my good ideas. So decided to let you run with it. Yours is the safer bet, right? But
right. Yeah.
I'm just gonna bet on some high variance in the other game, and
you're gonna be belly full of turkey. We're gonna be watching this. I kind of like that you have this because it'll give me a reason to find anything to care about in this Cowboys and Giants game, which was going to be tough to do. Except that today the news came out that they think that DeVito will be okay to go. but he has some arm soreness. So in case he's not, Drew Lock's been taking some first team snaps. And
Drew
let me
Lock
tell you,
was their second string quarterback the whole fucking year, and then got jumped by
So-
Johnny Cutlets. It's unbelievable.
let me tell you, if you want an over in both directions, Lock is your guy, because he will throw a pick six and he will throw a dime for 50 yards too. And so that might help your thing if you get some Drew Lock in there too. Yeah, I like him. I think we're ringing in the holidays with a nice 6-0 week. We haven't done that yet this year, so I'm rooting for us as a 6-0 week. When you get plus 600 for you, I would argue that's a 6-0 week. You know,
Well, if
I went 2-1 and you got a plus 600. I would say you made more than if you just won 110 minus 110 bets, but you know,
it would be a plus 300 and a plus 600 for me. This that's definitely a lot of value for the audience.
It's something. It's something here. All right. Well, thank you for listening. Nuggets, if you're listening, please play better.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it'd be good. And everyone have a safe holidays with family, and we will talk to you next week.
Lucifer Brothers is a Crab Shell Media podcast.